Good morning, girls, and welcome to your English class. Today we shall do 1.3. Have you ever seen? Can you see that question? Have you ever seen? It is incomplete. Look at your textbook on page. Look at the textbook on page 12. I shall show you it on the screen, but before I show you that, we will start doing the first part of the lesson, the warming up. Because first I have got to explain to you some kind of vocabulary. We are going to learn two new terms, homophones and homographs. They are two different terms. Here on the page, they have first given you homographs. Can you see there? Now what are homographs? Homographs are words that have the same, can you see, they are exactly same in spelling, but they differ in meaning. Any word which is spelled the same similarly but differs in meaning. For example, fair, the example given in the textbook. A temple fair attracts a lot of crowd. You know what's a fair, isn't it? During the some pilgrimage or something, when we go, there are fairs. Like Bandra fair is the best example for you, since we are living in Bandra. And the other fair is, her performance in the test was fair. You know, sometimes when you do your tests or exams, we write a remark down there, fair, satisfactory, right? So that is another fair. Now both the words are spelled similarly, F-A-I-R. However, their meanings are not the same. So with the help of a sentence, we can bring out the meaning. Look at the second example. A rose is the king of flowers. You know what's a rose, right? At the same time, to rise, the past tense of the verb to rise is rose. So look at the second sentence there. The sun rose with a golden glow. Now both the words are the same, rose, R-O-S-E, but in both the sentences their meanings are not the same. Can you see that? Okay, such words are referred to as homographs. I have given you some examples. You can look at the screen. The first example is bat. You know what's a bat? A bat that Dhoni uses, okay? Sports equipment is referred to as a bat, and a bat is also an animal. Look at the next one, B-O-W. Now you can refer to it as bow wow, the sound of a dog, or you can also refer it to as a bow. You know, she wore a bow on her head. Okay. At the same time, it can also be referred to as to bow, B-O-W, bow. You know what is to bow, no? Okay, you bowed in front of the audience. That is to bow. So sometimes these words, can you see, they are spelled the same way, but their meanings are different. And sometimes they are pronounced also differently. Like I just told you, bow and bow. Look at the third example, minute. Now minute and minute, both are spelled in the same way, M-I-N-U-T-E. A minute has 60 seconds, right? And look at that, the other minute is to be very minute, okay? The ant is a very minute creature. Did you understand? So these words are spelled alike, but they are either pronounced differently or their meanings are different. Is it clear? Now here they have given you in this warming up, you have got to write down 5 different words you have to take, which can be used as homographs. Okay? Now I have given you the examples, but you have got to make sentences of your own. I have also discussed with you, so you will be able to make. Okay, for example, park. You know what's a park? A garden. You can say the children went to the park to play. And the other park is she tried to park her car just ahead of the gate. Okay? Another example could be fine. What is fine? To be fine. She seemed to look fine when she returned. One fine. And the other fine is the fine, the penalty that you pay. If you break the signals, you have to pay a fine, right? That's the fine. So he had to pay a very hefty fine for breaking the rules. Okay? Then bat, I already told you. Another one, fan. Now, which are the fans that we know? One is the fan on the ceiling, correct? And the next fan is to be someone's fan. You could say she is Salman Khan's fan. Okay, so that is one fan, and the other fan is I asked her to switch off the fan as I was feeling very cold. Can you see that? So the word is the same, but the meanings are different in both the sentences. So like that, I want you to write down 5 sentences. I have given you so many examples. Fly. Now fly can be the fly. The fly was worrying the cow. And the other fly is I wish I could fly like a bird. Okay? So fly is an insect and fly is also to fly like a bird. So can you see the meanings are different in both the sentences? Like that, I want you to write down 5 sentences bringing out the meanings. Now you go on further. Now we are going to learn some figures of speech. Now these are new figures of speech which you have not learnt before. You have already learnt alliteration because we will come across it in the poem. So I am just revising it with you. What is an alliteration? When alphabets are repeated having the same sound, then it is referred to as an alliteration. Personification also you have done. When an inanimate object is given the quality of a living thing, then it is called as, what is it called as? A personification. Now these are 2 other figures of speech which we are going to introduce in this poem. The pun, P-U-N, pun. Now look, what is a pun? A pun is basically used to create some kind of humor. They are fun sentences, okay? They are just kinds of fun statements. Okay, look at the fun statements, okay, or they are called fun puns. Now the example they have given you one over there is hello, how's life? And the answer that B has given is hello, means hell of a time life is. It's a strive. So it's just a funny statement. I am showing you, look at the screen, I have given you a few puns, just examples for you to see. You have to pick out some more examples of your own and fill in over there 4 examples. Look at the first one on the screen. Santa Claus's helpers are known as subordinate clauses. You know, a helper or someone of a lower position would be referred to as a subordinate. So can you see, they are used it as subordinate clauses. And when you learn your different clauses, adjective clause and all, remember, we write subordinate clauses. So it's a funny statement. She has a photographic memory but never developed it. You know, today we have of course cameras where we can take photographs and we don't need to develop it. Earlier we used to use cameras where we used to put a roll in and they needed to be developed. So here it's a funny statement where she has a photographic memory but never developed it. Means, she did not make use of that ability of hers. But it is used in a funny way, the statement. The third one, two pianists had a good marriage. They always were in chord. So they were always in tune with each other. I was struggling to figure out how lightning works, but then it struck me. You know what's lightning, no? Lightning strikes people. So here, this is also a funny thing. So these are some of the examples of puns which you can use. This is one of the new figures of speech that you will learn in this poem. Then we go on to interrogation. Look at the question 3 on page 12. Go right down. Interrogation. Interrogation emphasizes. Look at that. They are basically questions. When can their glory fade? Isn't it time for the autumn's glow? These are questions which don't really need answers. But when a question is asked of this kind, it is in a poem, it is referred to as an interrogation. In grammar also you hear this word, but we don't use it as interrogation. We say change to interrogative. Okay? That is, you have to make the sentence into an interrogative sentence. Or when you have to name the types of sentences, we call it interrogative sentence. Whereas as a figure of speech, it is referred to as an interrogation. If you write interrogative here, you will get it wrong. Now go to the next page. I will begin the poem for you. I will read it once. Kindly pay attention. Have you ever seen a sheet on a river bed, or a single hair from a hammer's head? Has the foot of a mountain any toes? And is there a pair of garden hose? Does the needle ever wink its eye? Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol, or open the trunk of a tree at all? All the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? And what is the sound of the birch's bark? This poem, if you notice below, is written anonymous. Anonymous means that the poet is not known. The poet has not disclosed his name, and therefore it's written as anonymous. Whenever we recite poems where anonymous is written below, we state if you have to recite this, you would say, have you ever seen anonymous? You cannot say by anonymous. When an author's name is given, then we use the term by whoever, by William Wordsworth or whoever the poet is. But in anonymous we do not use by, because anonymous means the author is not known. Now if you look at this poem, every single sentence is a question. However, these questions seem to be very funny. They have no answers. Have you ever seen a sheet on a river bed? You know what's a bed? Your bed. On your bed, don't you put a bed sheet? Over here they are talking about a river. River also has a river bed, you know that. But do we put a sheet on the bed? No. So can you see there are no real answers to these questions, but they are funny. Have you ever seen a sheet on a river bed, or a single hair from a hammer's head. We all know that we have hair on our head. Unless someone is bald, we have no hair. Otherwise, all of us have hair on our head. Now a hammer also has a head. You know what a hammer looks like. But this head of the hammer does not have hair. So see, the poet, he's used it just to create some kind of humor. Or a single hair from a hammer's head. Has the foot of a mountain any toes? You know, your feet have toes. Everybody's feet have toes, don't they? However, mountains also have the foot of the mountain. You say, I went up to the foot of the mountain. But the foot of the mountain does not have any toes. So again, it is used just to create some kind of humor. And is there a pair of garden hose? Now what is hose? Hose is a pipe that a gardener would use in a garden, okay, to water the plants. Now here they're talking, usually you have only one pipe which the gardener will use. Whereas hose are also referred to as your stockings or tights. The tights that leggings you call them, right? Those leggings are also referred to as hose. Okay, and so when we talk about leggings, we talk about a pair of leggings. Though you are using only one leggings, but it is a pair. It is referred like trousers. Trousers are pants. You know that. We refer to it as a pair of trousers. We don't refer to it as trouser. Okay, it's always used in the plural. So here they are saying, is there a pair of garden hose? So does any gardener use two hoes at a time? No. Pair would be two, right? Okay. Does the needle ever wink its eye? I guess all of us know what a needle is. And a needle has an eye. That's how we threadle the needle, right? Before we start stitching, you need to threadle the needle. And that's an eye. But that eye cannot wink like how you and I can wink. We can wink with eyes, but a needle cannot wink. Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Now if you notice, all these words are used as, what are they? Homographs. Okay, double meaning they have, right? And that's why they are using it in the form of humor. Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Now you know what are the wings of a building, like A wing and B wing, C wing, you know, different wings buildings have. But do they fly? Basically wings are used to fly. But here the poet has used it in the other sense, and that's why he's used it in a humorous manner to say, why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? What's a parasol? A parasol is your folding umbrella. You know your umbrella? Those folding umbrellas are referred to as a parasol. The inside, the framework inside are referred to as the ribs. Now we also have ribs, right? And if somebody tickles your ribs, you know what will happen. You will start wriggling. Whereas the parasol's ribs, if you touch them also, they will not wriggle. So that's another funny statement. Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? Or open the trunk of a tree at all? You know the trunk of a tree. Okay? And you also know what's a trunk. A trunk is like a big suitcase. Okay, in olden days people used to use those big metal trunks, you know, even while traveling and things like that. You will see in movies and all. So those trunks can be opened and you can put your things in, right? Whereas a tree's trunk cannot be opened, or open the trunk of a tree at all. So all these are funny statements that are used by the poet, and they are also used as homographs. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Now I will show you the picture of a rake. Can you see that picture? That is a rake. Now if you look at that, it looks like the teeth of a rake. But this rake cannot bite, right? Can the teeth bite? No. Now a rake is usually used by a farmer or somebody who has a little garden. It's an implement that is used to draw grass together or dried leaves together, or while smoothing the soil we use such a implement. So here the poet says, are the teeth of the last stanza, are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Now will those teeth, they look like teeth, aren't they? But will they bite? Definitely not. So it's again used in a humorous manner. Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Now we all have two hands, and we can refer to it as our left hand and a right hand. The clock also has hands, but there is no left hand and right hand for a clock. You may have a small hand and a big hand, a second hand, right? For the seconds, but no left and right. So have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Now what is a plot? A plot is a plan, like an evil plan. When you plan to put somebody into trouble, or you're planning something wicked, okay, that would be considered as a plot. So now here a plot is also a piece of land, like a garden plot would be a piece of land. Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Now a plan, that plot, that wicked or evil plan, that can be deep and dark. Means it can be very secretive and very cunning, and nobody can know of it. But a garden plot, you cannot refer to it as deep and dark, because a plot is just a piece of land. And what is the sound of the birch's bark? Now you know what's the bark. Bark is the bark of a dog, correct? This cry of a dog is referred to as a bark. Now here the poet says, and what is the sound of the birch's bark? Now birch is a tree, and you know what's the bark of a tree. Now can the bark of a tree have a sound? Definitely not. So again he is using the homograph, okay, and he's used it in the form of a form of humor. Okay, so did you all understand the poem? Basically this poem is only to give you an idea of what homographs are. I will just read it once, run through it, and then we will pick out the different figures of speech. The two that we have learned today, interrogation and pun, personification and alliteration. So as I read through, I will be also calling out the figures of speech. Have you ever seen a sheet on a river bed? Can you see it's a question? So it can be referred to as a interrogation. The second sentence, the second line, or a single hair from a hammer's head. Can you see hair, hammer, head? The sound of H is the same, so it goes as an alliteration. You can refer to it as an alliteration. Then you go to the fourth line there. And is there a pair of garden hose? I already told you, a garden, you have one hose at a time, one pipe, and you don't refer to it. Even if you have two, you won't have it together. They are not stuck on two. Like how hose, how pantyhose, they are referred to as pantyhose actually, your leggings, because they are not only up to your thigh, but you wear it right up to your waist. Okay, so that's a pun. Then you go down to the next line. Does the needle ever wink its eye? Now, can the needle have an ability of winking? No, but here they are giving it the ability of winking. That is a human ability, and therefore it is referred to as a personification. Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? Now this is again an interrogation. It's a question. Then you go down, leave one line and go down. Or open the trunk of a tree at all. Now this can be a pun, because funny, isn't it? Can you open the trunk of a tree? At the same time, it is also an alliteration. T and T is repeated. Can you see? Trunk and tree. The sound of T is the same. Go down. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Again, it's a question, so interrogation. At the same time, the rake is given the quality of biting of a human, and therefore, or of a living thing, and therefore it is also a personification. So it is an interrogation as well as personification. You can mark it in your textbook. Have the hands of a clock any left or right? Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Now here it is a pun. Okay, it's used in a funny manner. A plot of garden cannot be referred to as deep and dark. And what is the sound of the birch's bark? Now here, can the birch tree bark? No. They are given the quality of a human, of a living thing, and therefore it is a personification. And can you see B, birch and bark? B is repeated, and therefore it is also an alliteration. So with this we cover up. Turn to the next page, page 14. Can you see question 3 there on page 14? From the poem, find 3 examples of each. So I have given you all. You can pick them out and put them in your notebook. When you write it in the notebook, you can pick it out from the poem. Okay, all what I have just done. Now go back to the previous page. The English workshop. Can you see that? From each line in the poem, pick out the word that is a homograph. Write its meaning in the context of the phrase used in the poem. Then write the other meaning implied in the question. Okay? So means, what is its meaning you have to write. They have given you one and you have to write the other. Now look at the first one example they have given you. Bed. One meaning of bed is a piece of furniture. Okay, the bed on which you sleep. And the other meaning is the bottom of a river or a sea. You know, river bed or the sea bed. Okay? These are the meanings. Now here you have to pick out all the words given here which will have 2 meanings. Now look at head over here. You can list them down as I call out. Can you see the second point? Head. Now head is a part of a human body or an animal. And head is also the topmost part of an object. Foot would be the next one. Can you see? I am taking it from the poem itself. Third line, foot. A foot is a part of a human body, and foot is also the base of a mountain, with reference to the poem. Okay? Hose. On the next line, fourth line, hose. Can you see? A hose is a flexible tube, I told you, which your gardener would use to water the plants. And the other meaning is a pair of stockings, or you would say leggings, or whatever you want to call it, okay, or tights. That would be hose. Then look at the second paragraph. Eye. Eye is a sense organ through which one can see. An eye can also refer to a loop or a hole that forms a part of a needle. That's the second meaning. Then we look at wing. Wing could be a section of the building. I told you the A wing or the B wing or whatever wing of the building. And wing is also an external part of a bird's body. Correct? Then you go to the next word, third line, ribs. Ribs are the long curved bones of our body, of a human body. And rib also refers to a series of sticks or wires that would shape something or would give support to something. You know, in an umbrella, no? You have the framework below and then the cloth is on the top. So it gives the shape of an umbrella. Then the fourth one is the trunk. The trunk is the portion of a tree, correct? Is the portion between the root and the branches. That would be the trunk. And the other meaning is a large suitcase, you can refer to it as. Then you go to the next paragraph, next stanza, the third one. Teeth. Teeth is again the part of a human body, and teeth is also the front portion of a rake. the front part of a rake. Hands. Hands are again the part of a human body. And hands are also referred to the hands of a clock. Plot. A plot is a piece of land, or a plot is also a wicked plan, an evil or a wicked plan. Then bark. Bark would be the sound or the cry of a dog, and the other meaning would be the external portion of a tree trunk. Okay, that is called the bark. Now go on to the next page. Write 2 lines of the poem which you find most humorous. Now, everything seems to be funny. You can choose whatever you like, whatever you feel most funny, they say. So from that we can guess how you understand the poem, how well you understand it, and you can choose sentences of your liking. Everyone does not have to have the same line. Then question 3, we have already done all the different figures of speech. Write it down in your notebook. Question 4, they want you to add one more stanza to this poem. So you can use the same style that the poet has used. Okay, though they have not given us the name of the poet, but surely a poet has written it. And so you have to use the same style, including homographs, interrogations, etc., and using the same style. Now we go on to question 5. Read the following sentences carefully, then fill in the blanks using appropriate words from the brackets to make puns. Now these words will bring out the meaning of the sentence, so you have to use it correctly. She had a photographic memory but never developed it. He was struggling to figure out how lightning works when it struck him. Lightning strikes. Every calendar's days are numbered. Sometimes you use this statement, your days are numbered, means now you are going to be in trouble. Anytime you will be pulled up. Now, whereas even on a calendar, numbers are given. A bicycle cannot stand on its own because it is too tired. Now can you see here? T-I-R-E-D. Now these are homophones actually. See, tired. Now you can be too tired means T-Y-R-E-D is the other word. It has 2 tires, but they are using it in a funny fashion and they are saying it is too tired. Can a bicycle get tired? It's not human, isn't it? And reading a book on anti-gravity, it's impossible to, look at the 5th one, to put down the book. You know what is gravity? The gravitational pull that you learned in geography, which pulls us down. That's the reason why we are standing. Otherwise we all would be flying, like if you go to the moon, right? Because the gravity is 1/6 that of the earth. Now it's impossible to put down the book. Now it's used again in a funny manner. I tell you a chemistry joke, but I know I wouldn't get a, look at that one, I wouldn't get a reaction. In chemistry, we use chemicals and they give us some kind of reaction. Here, you wouldn't get a reaction means you wouldn't understand it. That's why you would not react to it. Sometimes when jokes are told to you and you don't catch the joke, you don't react. And people will wonder why you're not laughing. But that's because you do not understand it. What do you call Watson when Sherlock isn't around? Homeless. Because Watson and Sherlock were always together. So if he was not around, he would feel like he was not at home. I would tell a history joke, but it's too old-fashioned. History is always about the past. And therefore, they are referring to it as old-fashioned. Again, it's a funny thing. They have asked you to read Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I think most of you may have already read the story. If you haven't, please go and read it. With this I end. Girls, I also wanted to teach you homophones, but now I feel this is enough for today because you will get confused. next time I will teach you what are homophones, and then we will compare the two, homophones and homographs, so that you don't get confused for the exams. That's all for today. Thank you.